Today we're talking about those hero plants that make your garden look amazing without demanding half your weekend, and honestly, who doesn't want that? These low-maintenance perennials are the kind you plant once and then pretty much let them do their thing, returning year after year with color that feels almost unfairly effortless. You don't need to be a master gardener or babysit them with constant watering schedules. Most of them thrive on plain sunlight, occasional rain, and a little mulch. And the best part is they handle heat, cold, neglect, and even a rough season without losing their charm. Whether your garden beds need a pop of color, long-lasting blooms, or pollinator-friendly beauty, these flowers bring it all with zero drama. If you've been wanting to upgrade your yard but don't want plants that give you anxiety, this list is basically your cheat code. So let's walk through the perennials that will quietly do the heavy lifting and make your garden look like you actually know what you're doing. Ready? Let's dive in. Amaryllis is one of those plants that surprises people because it looks fancy but barely asks for anything, and that's exactly why it earns a spot on any low-maintenance perennial list. This flower can push out massive trumpet-shaped blooms up to 8 inches wide, and once it's settled in the garden, it'll come back every year with almost no effort from you. It thrives best in bright light with well-draining soil, and as long as you give it a deep watering every week or so, it handles the rest on its own. What makes it even better is its bulb stores energy like a battery, meaning it powers right back up after winter and sends out fresh growth without you doing much more than clearing old leaves. Plus, hummingbirds love it, which automatically upgrades your garden without you lifting a finger. Flowering Anthurium is one of those plants that instantly elevates a garden look without demanding any real work, and that's why it fits perfectly into a low-maintenance perennial lineup. Its glossy heart-shaped leaves and long-lasting blooms can stay vibrant for up to 8 weeks at a time, which is way longer than most flowering plants that need constant deadheading. It does best in partial shade with consistently moist, well-draining soil, and as long as you don't let it sit in water, it pretty much manages itself. This plant is naturally tough thanks to its tropical origins, and once established outdoors in warmer zones, it comes back year after year with minimal input. A cool bonus is that its blooms aren't actually flowers but colorful spathes, which makes them incredibly durable and slow to fade, giving your garden reliable color with barely any maintenance. Snapdragons are one of those classic garden flowers that look like they'd be high maintenance because of their tall, colorful spikes, but they're actually some of the easiest perennials to keep going year after year. Once they settle into well-draining soil and get about 6 hours of sun, they practically run on autopilot, bouncing back even after cooler nights since many varieties tolerate temps down to around 40 degrees Fahrenheit. They bloom heavy in spring and fall, and all you really need to do is give them a light trim after the first flush to trigger even more flowers. What makes them extra fun is their snap-open petals, which don't just look cool but also attract bees in huge numbers, turning your garden into a busy, colorful pollinator hotspot with almost zero effort from you. Salvias are the kind of perennials that make you look like you've been gardening for years, even though they practically take care of themselves. Once you plant them in a sunny spot with well-draining soil, they kick into gear and produce long spikes of color that can attract butterflies, bees, and even hummingbirds from blocks away. They're incredibly drought-tolerant thanks to their deep root systems, so missing a watering or two won't bother them at all, and most varieties can bloom from late spring all the way into fall with just an occasional trim. What really makes Salvias stand out is their resilience. Many types can handle heat waves, poor soil, and even deer, making them one of the most dependable, low-maintenance bloomers you can add to a garden that needs color without constant upkeep. Celosia is one of those plants that instantly steals attention with its flame-like blooms, but the best part is how ridiculously easy it is to grow. Once it's planted in full sun with well-draining soil, it powers through heat, humidity, and even dry spells without losing its bold color or texture. Most varieties bloom non-stop from early summer into fall, and you don't need to deadhead them for fresh growth, they just keep going on their own. What makes Celosia even cooler is its ability to handle poor soil conditions, thanks to its sturdy root system, and its blooms last so long that they're often used as dried flowers. That means you get months of vibrant color in the garden with almost zero effort, plus long-lasting decor if you cut and dry the flowers. Marigolds are the definition of effortless color, bringing those bright golds and oranges that light up a garden without needing you to hover over them. Once they're planted in full sun with average, well-draining soil, they practically run themselves, thriving even in tough, dry conditions that make other flowers sulk. They're famous for their natural pest-repelling properties too, thanks to compounds in their roots that help deter nematodes and unwanted insects, which means they protect your other plants while looking good. And the best part is how long they bloom, from early summer straight through fall, with almost no maintenance besides the occasional deadhead, making marigolds one of the most reliable and hardworking low-maintenance perennials you can add to any garden. Moth orchids might look delicate and exotic, but they're actually incredibly easygoing once you understand how little they really need, which is why they fit right into any low-maintenance perennial list. These beauties thrive in bright, indirect light and prefer a loose, airy potting mix that drains quickly, so you're basically watering them every 7 to 10 days and letting them handle the rest. They're famous for their long-lasting blooms. A single flower spike can stay in bloom for 2 to 3 months, which is far more than most outdoor perennials can promise with so little work. What makes them even more impressive is that they naturally rebloom if you give them a slight temperature drop at night, and that small shift is enough to trigger another round of flowers, making them a surprisingly dependable, low-effort showpiece for gardeners who want elegance without the hassle. Pansies are one of those flowers that look charming and delicate, but they're surprisingly tough and perfect for a low-maintenance garden that needs reliable pops of color. Once planted in cool weather with well-draining soil and a spot that gets morning sun, they settle in fast and start producing blooms in shades that look hand-painted. They can handle light frost, bounce back after chilly nights, and keep blooming steadily through fall and early spring without demanding much from you besides occasional watering. What makes pansies even better is how quickly they recover after being trimmed. A simple pinch back can trigger a fresh wave of blooms, making them one of the easiest, most rewarding perennial choices for anyone who wants consistent color with barely any effort. Peace lily is one of those plants that quietly does everything right without asking for much, which makes it perfect for any low-maintenance perennial lineup. It thrives in partial shade to bright indirect light, meaning it can handle those tricky spots in the garden that other flowers refuse to tolerate, and as long as you keep its soil lightly moist, it bounces back even if you forget a watering here or there. Its signature white spathes can last for weeks, and the plant naturally filters the air around it, a bonus most ornamentals can't claim. What really makes peace lily a standout is how clearly it communicates. Its leaves droop slightly when thirsty and perk right back up after watering, making it one of the easiest, most forgiving perennials to grow if you want elegance without any of the fuss. Heleniums are the kind of perennials that bring late-season energy to a garden without demanding constant attention, making them a perfect choice for a low-maintenance setup. Once planted in full sun with well-draining soil, they settle in fast and start producing daisy-like blooms in warm tones of red, gold, and copper that can last from midsummer deep into fall. They're impressively resilient, handling heat, drought, and even the occasional poor soil day without missing a beat, especially once their roots dig in. What makes heleniums extra valuable is that they attract butterflies and bees like magnets, turning your garden into a pollinator hotspot with very little effort. Just a quick trim after blooming can help them maintain shape, but overall, they practically take care of themselves while giving months of bold, vibrant color. Violas are one of those little powerhouses that look sweet and delicate but barely need any care, making them a perfect fit for a low-maintenance perennial garden. Once they're planted in cool weather with rich, well-draining soil, they settle quickly and start pushing out tons of blooms in every color you can imagine. They handle light frost like champs, bounce back after cold nights, and keep flowering through spring and fall with just occasional watering. What makes violas especially great is how easily they self-seed. They'll quietly spread and return year after year without you lifting a finger, giving your garden a natural, effortless carpet of color that practically maintains itself. Mums are the classic fall superstars that look like they'd need constant pampering, but they're actually some of the easiest low-maintenance perennials you can grow once they're established. Plant them in full sun with well-draining soil and they'll reward you with dense, colorful blooms that can last 6 to 8 weeks straight, way longer than most seasonal flowers. They're naturally tough, handling cooler temperatures and even light frosts without losing their shape or color, which is why they dominate gardens every autumn. The real magic is how they come back stronger each year. Just pinch them back in early summer to shape them, and they'll explode with fuller growth and more blooms in fall. Mums are the kind of plant that makes your garden look festive and intentional with almost zero effort, which is exactly why gardeners swear by them. And that wraps up our list of low-maintenance perennial flowers that can transform your garden without turning your weekends into full-time yard duty. Each of these plants brings its own kind of magic: long-lasting blooms, drought tolerance, pollinator power, or just straight-up reliability. And once they're in the ground, they practically run the show themselves. If you're trying to build a garden that stays colorful, lively, and stress-free all season long, these flowers are honestly some of the smartest choices you can make. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and if you want more easy gardening tips and plant breakdowns, make sure to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and leave a comment telling me which perennial you're adding next.